Alright, hello guys. Today we are talking about out of the box or unusual training ideas for hikers. Now, the reason why I want to talk about this today is I'm always talking about a structured, progressive strength and conditioning approach for hikers. And I do firmly believe that that is the 100% best way someone can get ready for the trail. However, there does come a point where hikers can get a little bit bored with the normal types of training, and they might be wanting to get a little bit more creative with sort of their workout ideas so they can have a little bit more fun in their workouts, they can get a bit more variety, they can learn a new skill, have a new challenge, and sometimes that is a really necessary part of a training process. On top of that, for people who are currently stuck in home isolation or just not being able to get to the gym or might just be a bit out of their normal workout routine, training at home and doing the limited things that are in your head can get boring really quickly. And I know all about that, and it does absolutely suck. And sometimes that motivation for training can just go way down, and you end up just not really doing anything. So today I thought I would just talk a little bit about a few random workout and training ideas which might appeal to some hikers who are looking for a new challenge or looking for a bit of variety. Now, the beauty of these workout ideas is not only are they going to be quite out of the box and quite unusual to your usual training method, but they are still going to be incredibly beneficial for any hiker, trekker, or backpacker. So instead of you just choosing a random exercise idea that appeals to you, you can choose one of these ideas here, throw them into your week, and you're still going to get some really incredible benefits for your training, but you're going to get that creativity and that excitement back in. And then you can also take some of these things, if you do take the time to learn them now, and apply them into your training long term, because as I said, they're all going to be beneficial in one way or another. So I'm just going to list off about 6 or 7 different types of things you could be doing. Some might appeal, some might not, but at least you'll have a decent idea about a few different ideas around your training. So to start off with, number one is we're going to talk about sled pushing. Now, I've talked about sled pushing quite a few times on this podcast before, and it is a really incredible method of training for any hiker, trekker, or mountaineer out there. Basically, finding a sled, whether you're in a gym, whether you're outdoors, or something heavy which you can either push or pull back and forth, can be super beneficial. You can use it for a whole bunch of different ways. You can load up a super heavy sled and do really sort of short pushes, and that can be relatively effective for muscle strength. You can load up a really light sled and just do it as a bit of resistance as you do a really long walk or a long jog, and that can be pretty good for conditioning. You can sort of do a moderately heavy sled and do sprints with it, and that can be a really good way of doing interval trainings. Or you can do something that's a little bit in between super heavy and moderately heavy, and you can push back and forth, and you can do muscular endurance training. It's a really versatile piece of equipment, and it's a really handy thing that any hiker can do. Now, in the normal world, I'd probably say you can do this at a gym, as many gyms have either normal sleds to push or pull, or at least stationary sleds. A lot of gyms are getting them these days. If you're stuck at home, you don't have access to a gym, there are a whole bunch of opportunities to use this. You can buy one, but they are pretty expensive, so I probably wouldn't go down that route. But it's very easy to make your own sled in this situation. If this type of training did appeal to you, you can literally go onto Google, plug in how to make your own workout sled, and a whole bunch of articles are going to pop up for you. And with a few simple bits from a hardware store, you can make a really effective workout device. On top of that, if you didn't really want to make your own sled, you can sort of, there's a few different options for you. You could go down to an empty car park and push a car back and forth, and that's just as effective. Obviously, you need a little bit of space for that, and you need to make sure no one's around, but that can be pretty effective. If you're looking at doing a conditioning session, you can literally push your lawnmower around for quite a long time, or you can do sprints with your lawnmower. And that might not be so beneficial for the heavy strength stuff, but it can be a relatively effective conditioning piece. And you can get creative here and have a think about a whole bunch of different ways that you can sort of mimic the idea of a sled. But probably the easiest one is just to make your own if this did appeal to you. And if you're relatively handy, or if you've got someone you know who is handy, this can be a really good option. So method number one is do a bit of sled pushing or pulling, or a combination of both. Method number two, which can be really great for hikers, is learning how to skip. Now, skipping was probably a core part of our childhood, but unless you are doing some type of boxing training, or you're doing an exercise class which loves skipping, more than likely you haven't really done much of it in a while. But it can be a really great method of training for a whole bunch of reasons for hikers. Number one, it can be great for developing calf strength and resilience, meaning your calves take an absolute battering on the trail when we're going up and down, and they can really be the limiting factor quite often. And no matter how many calf raises we do here and there, sometimes it's just not really enough. So skipping can be a great way to build up just strength and endurance in the calf muscles, as well as the resilience in the Achilles and the feet, and just potentially reduce the likelihood of injury through those areas. So it can be really great. As you get a little bit better, and it takes as you sort of can do it for long periods of time, it can be a really great conditioning piece as well. So it can be really get a really good heart rate response, and it can be a great thing to throw into your warm-ups, to do as a conditioning session by itself, to throw into a circuit or whatever. Now, if you haven't skipped for a while, it probably will be pretty frustrating learning how to do it. If you are a little bit overweight, or you do have a particularly, injury concern in the lower body, it might not be the best option for you. But if you don't carry an injury, it might be a really good thing to have a little practice and have a learn. Now you can again go into Google and just type in a beginner skipping workout or learn to skip, and there'll be dozens and dozens of articles that pop up there. But that can be a really great method for anyone to train, and you really don't need a huge amount of space for that. So I fully get around learning how to skip for hikers. Number 3 is doing some type of carry training. Now carries are a really great way of training for basically upgrading your conditioning, or just making a workout a little bit tougher and getting a little bit of a heart rate response and a little bit of a muscular endurance response. Now what I mean by carry is literally getting some type of heavy object and walking up and down with it. Whether you're getting a super heavy object and you're only doing 10 meters at a time, or something that's a little bit lighter and you're doing quite long periods of it, it can be really effective. And the beautiful way of this is, depending on where you carry a piece of equipment and what type of equipment you use, it can do a whole bunch of different things in the body. For example, if you were using a dumbbell, there's 4 different types of carries which you can sort of vary between really effectively. Number 1, you could do something that's called a suitcase carry, in which you have one dumbbell, you hold it by your side, and you walk up and down. Now what that's going to do is that one dumbbell is going to try and pull you to the side, so the other side of the abdominals have to lock on, keep you upright, and you walk up and down. And it's really effective for conditioning, but also a bit of core stability. If you want to make that a bit different, you can hold 2 dumbbells and just focus on doing a little bit heavier. Again, that's going to be great for core stability and can be a really good conditioning piece where you're walking up and down. The next bit here, you can do dumbbells and just holding them up on your shoulders. So you might hold 1 or 2 again, just hold it up in that sort of up near your chin, walk up and down, rest it on your shoulders. That can be a really great method of conditioning, and it can mix things around a little bit. And then the next step from there is you can hold 1 or 2 dumbbells straight above your head, and that's going to challenge things as well. So that was about 6 different variations you can literally do with a dumbbell, and you literally just go around an oval, back and forth on the backyard, and that can be a great session. Now, obviously, you don't just have to use dumbbells there. You can use any type of heavy object. So a few examples here that I see all the time: dumbbells, barbells, sandbags can be a great thing. You can either buy them online or make your own, and they can be really good. You can obviously load up a pack and do the same thing. You can use water jugs, so if you can get a relatively heavy water jug walking around, and you can even use a dry bag full of water. And the beauty of using something that's full of water in a dry bag is seeing it's going to slosh around. That's going to add a little bit extra challenge and stability, so that does make it a bit tough. And you can get super creative with these types of workouts. You could just tack on 10 minutes of carrying at the end of a workout, of a strength workout, and that'll be your conditioning piece. You could go down to the oval and just do laps back and forth of carrying a piece of equipment for 20 minutes, 30 minutes. Or you could sort of set up on an oval, and at each corner you put a different piece of equipment. So one side of the oval you might do a dumbbell carry or a suitcase carry where you're just holding one dumbbell. Then next corner of the oval to the next one, you might be holding a dry bag up at your chest. The next one, you might be holding a dumbbell straight above your head. And the next one, you might be doing your other side of your suitcase carry. You can get super creative here, but carries can be an amazing way of training for a hiker, whether it's just trying to make up time right now or whether it's in usual time in your training. It'll be really great to include. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is water running. So water running is an interesting method in which if you do have access to a beach or a lake, probably a beach because it might be a little bit nicer, this can be a really cool cardio method just to get a little bit of a different response on your legs. So basically what you do here is you're going to run in shin deep water, probably around about 3/4 up your shin up to the top of your knees, and you're literally just going to run back and forth on that. Now, a great way of mixing this up is if you're on the beach, you can sort of do 5 minutes of running in the water, 5 minutes of running on the soft sand, water, soft sand, water, soft sand. And it really, really mixes up the workout of just running by itself. It's a little bit more enjoyable than just pounding the pavement, and it can be a great method of training. Now, for anyone who's in a tropical climate or just a normal climate and they're preparing for a winter trek where they're going to be in snow, this can be a really great method of just getting the legs ready to sort of push through snow all day. So have a think about that if you are in that particular situation. But for anyone else, it can just be a fun method of training. Another one is really, really good to include is hill sprints. So I don't often talk about sprinting or running on this podcast a huge amount because for most hikers it's not 100% necessary. But if you are looking for something that's a little bit more exciting in your training, finding a hill, whether it's a really, really short hill that's only about 20 meters or something that's a little bit longer, and just running up and down it can be really, really great. You get a great heart rate response. It can develop a little bit extra strength and resilience through the legs, and it can just be fun. And it's something that you can really, really get into. Now, the reason why I recommend hill sprints over normal sprints is purely for the fact that if you're running on an incline, it just reduces a little bit of the likelihood of getting a bit of an injury if you haven't been used to running or sprinting for a while. And just the angle of your running, it changes the biomechanics slightly and just reduces the likelihood of you getting a little bit of a strain or anything like that. But yeah, you can literally do 10-meter sprints like on a really, really short hill. You could find a really long hill and sort of do longer ones, whatever you want there, but it can be pretty effective to throw into your week. And then the final one I want to talk about is you can go out and buy a kettlebell. If you don't, a lot of people have kettlebells just making dust in the corner in the home somewhere, or you can buy one online and you can teach yourself how to use it. There's so many workouts and so many instructional videos online teaching you how to do certain kettlebell movements, whether kettlebell flows or just get your head around it. And it can be a really great method of just learning a new skill, and developing your legs, developing a little bit of power in your legs. So it's really, really good for core stability, and it can be a really, really cool piece of kit to learn. Again, if you want to learn that type of stuff, you can just plug into Google beginners kettlebell instructions or beginners kettlebell workouts, and a whole bunch of stuff can pop up. But just for one piece of equipment, it can be absolutely amazing. And then the beautiful thing of all of these exercises and all these workouts is you can use them at any stage in your preparation. So whether or not you're limited for workout choices now or further down the line, you just want something a bit more creative, all of these things can slot into a regular workout week more or less enough. And at the moment, if you want to sort of do one of these or two of these, or even just combine them into their own workouts, it's easy enough. You could literally take all of these exercises or all these methods and throw them into a circuit, and that'll be relatively fun to work yourself through. Wouldn't be easy, but it will be fun. And there's a whole bunch of ways you can get about it. So the sky's your limit with the creativity here, but I just thought I'd just throw out a few random workout ideas, which I personally love for hikers and I personally love for any type of sports performance, and you can sort of take it and apply it into your life if it appeals. Now, obviously, each of these workouts on each of these workout methods, you can get into super details on that, and you can get really, really more in depth. So if anyone was curious about this, they want a little bit of advice, a little bit of direction, or a little bit of just a bit of instruction around this type of thing, feel free to send me an email. Reach out to me at rowan@summitstrength.com.au. I'm always happy to chat about this type of stuff and give you a little bit of direction, but hopefully that gives you a few out of the box training ideas which you can sort of use to brighten up your training a little bit in this time. If you have enjoyed this podcast today, as always, I would really, really appreciate it if you can leave me a review on whatever podcast platform you're listening to. As always, it goes a very, very long way in helping me grow this podcast, reach more hikers, and make a bit more of an impact in the hiking community. So I really hope you've enjoyed this episode today. Hope you got a few decent ideas and maybe spark some creativity towards your workouts moving forward. Have a lovely day, and we'll talk to you very, very soon. Bye.